Okay. Welcome. Welcome. All right, we are streaming. How you doing? Okay, having some lunch. Well, it's morning here. It's morning here. I made it. I made it. I've had my porridge with my protein and all my seeds and whatnot. I was determined to eat before I came on. So welcome wherever you are. And we're going to get pretty much straight into it so that we have time to go through. I will be sort of checking because we do have it's a new setup for Restream that, let me just find it so that I can see your comments. If you want to say g'day. All right, let me see. No. So today we are going to do, well, based on time and how fast or slow we go. And I am going to attempt to slow it down a little bit so that you can get what you need. Oh, it's taken me live on the wrong thing again. All right, so the heading of this is connected to your essential goodness and reset. So we're going to do a process to connect you to your goodness. Well, you're already connected. You just may have forgotten, right? How many of you have forgotten? It's not about good or bad, but this space that when we're disconnected or we feel like, you know, we look behind us for our number one, which is the number one soul embody, I exist. When we feel like there's something wrong or there's something not good about the existence that you are, or whatever that is for you. And this is the contemplation, right? So Restream's put me on the wrong stream again. So I think this is under the stories of our lives. So I'll have to go back and change that later. I got no idea, but we're here, right? We're here. You can see me. But yes, it's put me under the wrong heading. So connected to your essential goodness and reset is what we're doing today. So I don't even know if I can get the chat up for that. Let me see. So while you're waiting for me to get this technology organized, put in the chat because I always go back and have a look. I can see Rhombus Healing Arts live, so you can put in the chat there. Maybe your contemplation, like what is it that maybe you feel at times or right now disconnected from? Like what are you disconnected from? Or do you feel fully connected? Or is there something in between? Is there something in between? So I guess for now I'm going to leave let me see if I can work it out. Can I work it out? All right, well, I've got the chat up for the one I'm on. Oh my goodness, so many channels, it's ridiculous. But so I'm on the chat, wherever you can see me from. If you chat g'day or hi or what I will see it. Okay, so let's get into our lesson of today, and we are going to start off with the gong. It's really windy here. There's all sorts of planetary space weather going on at the moment, and it's well, has been, and it's hitting Earth, right? It's hitting Earth. So here in Hawaii is extremely windy, I've got the windows open because, you know, I like a little flow. So you may hear that. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a moment. And let's be okay with that. Let's be okay, and I'm saying okay for now, while we connect to the sound, the vibration of this sacred ball that's been handed down the generations. Okay, I'll show you. And just finding where you are in this moment. Take this opportunity. If you've stumbled across me, this live, or you are part of the inner circle and you plan to be here, whatever is the case, how you came across, let us just be here. So just feel that sense of existence for a moment. What does it feel like to be here? Not thinking, feeling. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Scared the bejeebies out of me, so I'm going to mute you. Sorry. All right, make sure you're muted when you come on. So I just jumped out of my body, so I'm going to jump back in. So welcome if you just come on. And that can happen, right? That can happen. This is why it's about connecting to our essence. It's not you connect once and, you know, it's this remembering continually, infinitely. It's like love. Love grows and changes and is infinitely. You can't know love. Think about that. Feel into that. Knowing love. It's infinite. The moment you feel, think, sense, know, it's moved again. It's like yourself. You think you know somebody else? Oh my goodness. So relationship with anything is the continual dance and attunement. Right? So let's tune into ourselves and each other in this container. So take a breath. Let yourself yield into that sound. Just fall into it. There's not really an in or an out or an up or a down. So when I, whoa, it's like I'm in a tornado here. So in, out, up, down. Where are we in this space, in time space? That's interesting. Take a breath. How are you with the sound? And the orchestra of the elements is playing with the gong. How do you dance with the sound, with the vibration? So it's interesting. I wish you could have seen that, because it's like all the curtains and the panel and my notes all just flew around the room like I was in this tornado, right? I don't know if you heard it, but it's a bit of a spectacular visual. So, how are you now? I had this conversation this morning because I tend to ask people how they are. And they say, oh, I'm okay. I'm good. And I said to the person, when I'm in the world, right, just in life, maybe it's about asking the question a different way. What is it that I'm attempting to exude or allure from the other? So think about that. Is it that question alone, or whatever you or however you communicate with others, will show you something about yourself? So let me break this down. This wasn't the teaching, but it is now. And then we'll go into shifting state, teach you something to shift, something simple to shift state. When I'm interacting with others, I feel them. Right? I feel them, I see them, I sense them, I know them to some degree. There are times when those other people may be going through more than usual. And if I'm near them, I will sense that through some sensory system or multi-dimensional sensory system, however you see, understand that. Now, what happens is we feel something different. Some of you may go next to somebody and you feel dizzy. That happens to me when I'm flying, when I'm at the airport. I'll be like, and I've done research on this. I research everything because I like to know what makes things bump in the night, you know. And I would stand in line going, you know, ready to go through, what do you call it here? TSA or something, or, you know, the customs, you know, you go through all the gadgets and whatnot, and they check you for weapons or drugs or whatever. And as you're standing in line or you're moving around in those lines, when you're near some people, you may feel like you want to pass out. You may feel dizzy. You may feel nothing at all because you're in your own stuff. And so I would play with this a little. I would move away from the person and I'd be fine. And then I'd move closer to them and I'd be like, whoa, or like you want it to come up. And I realized, because I'm not one to go into other people's energy without permission, but if they're intruding into my field and impacting me, then I am, you know, all what's that saying? All bets are off. It's like, you know, how do I disconnect or not protect as such, but navigate the field that I'm in that's impacting me. Now, you're all doing that all the time, every day, all of your life. But there are certain situations where the stress is a little higher And when you're near those people, you will feel it a little more. And that's okay. That's okay. And this is the thing around there's a lot of information out there that will steer you the wrong way. And it's because of fear. It's because of fear. So we're going into a teaching that I didn't suspect would pop up, but this is how I roll and this is what's come up. So if we're near somebody who is very ill or has a lot of fear, has a lot of stress, has a lot of anxiety, we all do at some point in time, right? And when you're more vulnerable, you will feel it more, regardless of the barriers and protections and survival mechanisms you've placed around yourself and on yourself and in yourself, right? To not feel when you're out of line, out of alignment, when you're in your fear, when you're tired, when you're injured, when you're ill, when you're stressed, maybe about something, or your body's physically stressed, or it's really hot or really cold. Some people's abilities to not react to a sensation they're feeling from the environment or within the environment is more than often the nervous system wants to dance with. Okay. So I'm back to my story. I'm with somebody yesterday, and every time they came near me, I got dizzy. So I could say, oh, that person is this, that, or the other, which is what a lot of you do, because that's what you're being taught by other people, your conditioning. Or when you're around somebody, you feel uncomfortable. So, oh, I'm not going to be their friend, or I'm not going to hang around them, or I'm not going to do. Yeah. Self-preservation. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying consider this, because how you're experiencing them it's not about good or bad. It's about maybe how they're processing what's going on in their life, and you can feel it. Processing isn't bad. It's not, some, energy vampire thing that you've made up to help yourself be okay with how you feel around someone or something. Take responsibility. I just realized how strong that was. But hey, mystic truths, people. What we're doing in spiritual development a lot of the times is our spiritual ego. And we're saying, oh, I'm so sensitive, I can't be around those people. Bull, right? You can. And you have to some degree if you want to be out in the world. So what do? You look at your fear, what's going on for you. How are you picking up? If you're working on your vessel and your energy systems, it does not matter what's going on around you. Following me? Right? If your nervous system can regulate, then if I go near someone and I feel what's going on in their system, because it's that intuitive, medical intuitive stuff. I feel what people's ailments are. I feel their pain. I feel their suffering, right? So everybody's got something. So then what? Do I just pop out of the earth? No. I spent 30 odd years understanding how I work, how I can regulate, how I can build a very strong system and vessel to be able to navigate and be in any situation at any time. because I was put here, this soul in the body, I exist. And so that's my job, to exist. I'm existing. And when I've accepted the existence, I can move through the numbers. I can move through the development. I can move through my conscious evolution into the expansion of that, into the relating with others with that. So going back, this is how I roll. I go from one, I go out, I came back. I go out, I come back. I go out, I come back. Right? So we're coming back to when I came on in the beginning and I said, around how I'm asking questions. Another question would be, why am I asking the question? And I just gave you the answer for that. I'm asking the question because I'm feeling the sensation, right? It's creating something within my system. So my nervous system is going, oh, there's a change. Oh, there's a change. If I go into my beliefs and conditioning patterns and they're old and they're outdated and they're from, my trauma lenses, then I am going to probably freak out and move away and do all that. Oh, that person is this, that I need to get away from that. I shouldn't be here. Oh, I'm not meant to be here. All of that stuff. It's all your fear of love. When we understand that, oh, there's a signal happening here, my system's picking it up, that something has changed, I am then going, how you doing? How are you? Does that make sense? So now I'm going, and the person says, I'm okay. And I know that they're not okay. Well, I know that. So when somebody says okay, they're usually, particularly students and people that I'm closely relating to, they're telling me from their soul, and their soul is not touched or barely touched by this existence, right? So whether they're embodied or not, they're okay. So it's like, okay. And this is the contemplation, right? Why am I asking? Because there's a fear, aka fearing, aka sensation in the body to say something has shifted. Why does it matter that something has shifted? Because we humans do not like change. Change can be scary. Change is the unknown. We don't know, right? We don't know. So how's this settling in for you, with you? Let me just check this other chat and see who else is around, if anyone. So if you're watching from YouTube or Rhombus Healing Arts or Conscious Evolution and Ascension, what other pages? I don't think we're running on Spirit Whisper, but whatever page you're looking from, or here on the Zoom, contemplate that. Again, does that make sense from what I've just said? Not a story to tell you that when you feel something in the body, it's a feeling, a sensation, and the sensation is the first piece of information. And then as we bring the next piece of information on top of that, which could be a thought or a memory or a remembrance, is our conditioning, right? And it can happen in a split second, but a sensation and a thought is an emotion. So instead of saying, how do you feel as in an emotion, I'm saying, how do you feel as in a sensation? What's happening in your system Where's the fear? Where's the love? Right? What's it feel like? That's what's being processed. And when it's not, when it's bigger than, I won't say when it's not being processed, because it's being processed, but it can be, or it could be processed more effectively, more efficiently. So that person, rather than asking the question that I asked, and this is what I spoke this morning about earlier, was what else we could have done. So rather than me going, oh, look, the reason I don't drink or take drugs is because if you drink and take drugs, I feel it. Right? I've traveled all around the world. I've been in lots of communities. I've been where they've been taking LSD and all sorts of stuff. And I sit there and I feel this, I feel it. And I can continue to feel it, or I can, you know, sort of distance the energetics, right? But that's how it works, whether it's that sort of thing, or whether it's an illness or whatnot. But, you know, I'm just letting you know, some of you, well, all of you have the capacity, depending on how bounded you are, because of your past, right, conditioning, because of trauma, because of terror, because of all of that. What boundaries do you have that prevent you from feeling? When you start to do your evolution, whether it's through your physical development or your emotional development or your energetic or spiritual development, right? It's the development, conscious evolution of the human species, involves all of that and more. You sense more, you feel more, there's more sensitivity. It doesn't make you better than anyone else. In fact, it can be quite a challenge. It can be quite a challenge. Right? It was a challenge for me in the early, you know, because I didn't understand it. I would sit near someone and feel like I was dying. And I didn't understand that it was the person I was sitting next to until I did. Because as I got older, it just happened more and more. And because of how I, you know, I'm sort of analytical and I start to do these little research projects and whatnot. But when I was young, I was just seen as a hypochondriac, you know. Oh, something else, you know, and then it would go. Couldn't find anything, you know. So that's the extreme of it, right? That's the extreme of it. Where does that happen for you? It may just be an unconscious sense that when you are speaking to somebody, it may be from their facial expressions, it may be from their movements, it may be from what they're wearing or how they hold their posture that makes you feel uncomfortable, right? We're getting information, we're bombarded with information, we're swimming in the ocean of information. So the reflection really was, I contemplate everything, right? Everything, it's constant, right? It's just my head, it's my body, it's what I'm here. You know, I'm the computer. The question wasn't necessarily about what question to ask. It was why I was asking. And some of you know that I talk about when we're asking a question, there's a fear, there's an unknown. So if you've been conditioned to see fear as only the, right, you're going to miss the point. You're going to miss the point. Any sensation in the physical system is information from the nervous system, right? Which is telling us how to navigate our environment. So if we're sensing, feeling anything, a sensation in our body, it's information, right? And if we just simply go, let that old system go to the habitual patterns that have kept us safe in the past, we'll continue to do that and we'll miss the beauty of how we can continue to evolve with another. So we came to the conclusion, right? I mean, it wasn't a full-on conversation. It was just like, happened yesterday and then this morning, doing yoga and just doing our morning routine or whatever. It was like, what would be a different way? Because you're either wanting to, well, it's not either or, but there is the side or the part that's wanting to support yourself, make sure you're safe. There's something in the field that doesn't feel normal, or right, there's something different. What is it? And we want to find out what the difference is to see whether we need to take action or not, right? And then there's the other that's going through whatever they're going through and they're trying to process alone. So we could have, rather than asking a question, it may have been a touch, depending, I'm saying somebody you know well, or family members, or even children, a hug. How can we process together more effectively? Because the asking how somebody is not really supportive. Because if that person is in their fear, they're going to say what? What are they going to say? I'm okay. I'm good. I'm well. How are you? It's all the very, very, very surface of the shell that we've built or created, especially when we're in pain, physical or emotional. We bound ourselves in some way. Actually, I just put a reel out about the bound. I don't know who've seen it. It's a little bit of a longer teaching on boundaries, or the bounding in the space between those natural boundaries. Like where if you look out into the ocean, you have the sky, but then it's like it sort of merges into the ocean. And then the ocean merges into the earth, right? The land. Where does one end and the other begin? That's a contemplation I've spent many a year in my younger years. Oh my goodness. I literally looked at it. I have research on it. When you eat something, when does it become you? At what point does it then become part of you? And at what point does it no longer become part of you as it goes out, right? There's these boundaries where one thing starts and the other ends. And some of those boundaries aren't so clear. Yeah, you with me? Am I just being a little aloof today? I'm not sure. All right. So just feeling into, let me see, I've got 2 exercises, but I'm just feeling what, I think I'll give you the more simple, well, they're both really simple, but one is the next level. So so let me talk about it this way. If somebody is really feeling what's going on around them in this way, it's a different way. So we're moving from what I just talked about into, we're transitioning. This is the shift from one thing to the other. So there's a space. And often the power is in the space, right? The space between the spaces. So the point that I said I was going to share, although Restream shared the other title, was around how to reset. So if that person or you yourself or myself is feeling a little like, oh, we're feeling too much, or we're not feeling enough, or we're a bit grumpy, or we're sort of blissing out, and often most people don't mind if they're blissing out, but you know, when you're really high on life, right, it can be difficult to do certain tasks in this world that maybe you've committed to, right? So we can reset simply. So, you know, the wind and the weather at the moment here is a good example, or, you know, when there's, I guess, storms coming, and there isn't a storm here, it's just a lot of wind. I guess it's wind storms, like we get wind warnings, right? It's a lot of wind here. And, but where you are, there might be what's called a build-up, right? Before a storm, even before the rain, you can feel a shift. So if you're sensitive, you may have noticed this, that you sort of just feel different. Sometimes you can get a bit grouchy. Some people go really strange. I'll just put it that way, right? There is something called a build-up. And in Australia, up north, people really do. It's like the full moon thing where, you know, people end up going to jail and going to, you know, hospital and all of that sort of stuff, right? There's these big shifts. The build-up is where, you know, in the, I think it's mainly the wet seasons where there's a lot of hurricanes or tornadoes and whatnot up the top end of Australia, right? And there's a shift in the atmosphere, which what I'm going to talk about is the positive and negative ions. And when there's too much of one or the other, you will feel a certain way. So how to reset is through conscious breath, right? Conscious breath. So so I'll invite you right now to just notice, and it may take you some practice, so bear with me. I want you to just breathe through your nose and just start noticing what's going on with your nostrils. What one that you feel more air coming in and out. How you feel the breath. Does one nostril feel a bit blocked? Are both blocked? Are both fine, but you sense more movement in one or the other? So just take a moment. And notice your breath through the nose just for a moment. And let me know what you discovered, if anything, right? What you discovered, if anything. You can change your experience via, or your state via, changing how you breathe, how you give and receive through the nose. So take a note for yourself. Did it feel more on the left or more on the right? Share with me if you like, or at least share for yourself. And there's all sorts of kriya for changing the state through the nostrils. But we're going to do, so many of you would have heard about the alternate or alternating the nostrils, right? I just want you to notice and know that you can change nostrils to change experience. So before we do anything, at the beginning, I was saying, how are you? How are you in this moment? How do you feel? What was going on with your body? What state were you in? Were you feeling excited or a little grumpy today? And I'm going to go through this experience, which is so simple. And we're going to do a little bit of an experiment too. So I'm going to keep it simple, but maybe if you want to know more, we can go into, I've done lots of other teachings on, the positive and negative ions and what they do and all of that sort of stuff. But for now, it's simple. It's basically saying the left nostril is this cooling, calming down, right? Cooling, calming down. So take the right thumb and place it over the right nostril. There's all sorts of ways to do it, however you feel, right? Well, I guess you could use a finger. So blocking, or just gently, and I do it sort of higher up. It's not like I'm blocking down here. It's like just gently touching above. You're not pushing, but it's enough just to restrict. And breathe through the left nostril. So you've got a bit of a baseline of, okay, this is how I was, how I am today. And when I sit, just noticing what nostril tends to be or seems to be in this moment more prominent. And now we're going into, okay, let's just breathe for a moment through the left nostril and just notice. Just notice. And then we can swap. So take a moment and just notice, okay, is that left nostril still congested or still less receiving than the right one? And then just swap. So the left thumb or finger on the left nostril to breathe out of the right nostril. And notice. Just noticing. If you're really congested and blocked up, it's okay. Just do what you can. A simple way to change state. So the right one is more energizing. And then just notice both. Just relax your hand down and just notice both. Meaning, just notice the breath coming in and out of the nostril or nostrils. And just be curious, just what it's doing. And just be aware of your state. So if you've been grumpy and you tend to be one nostril or the other, if you're excited, energized, is it both? Is it one or the other? Left or right? If you're excited or you're overexcited or there's a lot of energy, maybe calming that down and breathing through the left nostril. Maybe there's, you just have to come back to self a little. But even just noticing how you're breathing, bringing you back to yourself. So breathing through the right, you can bring yourself up if you're feeling a bit grumpy, a bit, a bit in yourself, like heavy. You try it out for yourself, okay? One more thing that I'll leave you with before we cross over to the inner circle is experimenting with, for those of you that are a little bit more curious, there's a point in between the thumb and finger. Yeah. And you could experiment and just see pressing, maybe I'm starting with the right, pressing the right point and noticing what happens with the nostrils, how you breathe. But you may already be breathing through both of them, right? So there might be something just to have a go tomorrow or later on, just as a little experiment, those of you that are curious, right? And once you've done that for a while, then change over and notice if it changes the nostrils, right? It's interesting when I hold so when I don't hold any, it feels more both. But when I hold the left one, it feels like I'm breathing in through the right and out through the left. And whether that's in my head, my imagination, you know, like it's just being curious, play with it. So it's been known to be able to shift if, you know, you're breathing more prominently out of one nostril, right? Try the pressing to see if that changes it. I don't have enough evidence because this is one that with the pressing of the hands, this is one I've just been curious about lately. However, the changing nostrils, changing the positive and negative ions and how we breathe is ancient wisdom. So try it. See which one switches. This links to the nadis as well, right? So some of you may know the two main nadis. But like, let's just keep it simple. Left, right nostril. You know, we have the mother and father, Ida Pingala. Right. We want to breathe through both of them ultimately. But if one is if you're feeling a bit grumpy or a bit low, notice what nostril you're breathing through. So I could tell you what's what, right? So, you know, the mother's always the one that's sort of not respected in the way that, in my opinion, right? So she's seen as the grumpy ions, right? The negative ions, and the father is the positive ions, right? So that's the right nostril, it's positive, masculine, left, feminine, negative. Negative isn't necessarily bad, like as in, maybe it's more the charge, a plus and a minus is the charge, okay? And so if there's a storm coming and all the positive ions have been sucked out of the atmosphere, then maybe you want to, you know, start doing your breathing. You know, maybe I'll teach that you another day, but you can just notice and change doing it like that. Okay? All right, that's that. I'm going to go into the inner circle in a moment and I'll teach you. They both feel the same now. Cool. Left side open, both hands. Yeah. So you'll be able to sort of notice the state as that starts to come in. You know, when I was, I used to do, and I still do it on occasion, but every single day for years and years on end, I never missed a day. I would do this full-on advanced breath work, and often I'd wake up all congested, and I'd just keep doing it until I was breathing consciously through both nostrils. So, you know, it shifts your state. So I'm just giving you a little, what do you call it? A shortcut, you know. But obviously, you know, what's going on in the environment, how you're sensing fear, how your nervous system's able to regulate or not, how, you know, you see the world, what are the views. I've been looking into more deeply, well, some of you know, healing, how we heal and whatnot, but also belief and faith. But I'll talk to you more about that another day. Right? So we can use tools and techniques, but what's before that? Like what's going on before that? It's like, okay, we've got a headache. We take a, I don't know what an aspirin or a Panadol or or whatever you take. I don't know. I don't take medication, but whatever it is you might take, right? but what's created the headache? And then what's underneath that? That's what I'm intrigued by. So yes, at times we may need to take a medication or go a certain way while we're working it out. Okay. But many will choose not to work it out, and that's okay. But then we also don't have to listen to the complaining either, do we? Right? That it keeps coming back around. Oh, it's the same old story. Oh, the same old people coming into my life and creating havoc in my life. And oh, if only they would all get out of my life, I would have a perfect life. Well, common denominator, people. Common denominator. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Right. All right. Much love. So wherever you're watching this from, come back later, and I'm going to put the links that I did have prepared on the other restream, but it jumped and sent out the wrong information. So, oh, it's not wrong, but so I'm going to put out some links because the Academy for Conscious Evolution website is up now, which is basically my website. And it is sort of linked to Rhombus Healing Arts because that is the business name. So if you do go to Rhombus Healing Arts, there will still be a link to the Academy for Conscious Evolution, which really just has the program, services, who I am, what we do, all of that sort of stuff. And the other one is for the House of Unconditional Love, which has its own website, and that is unconditionallove.us, and an invite for the 21st where we are launching the House of Unconditional Love, and it's free. And going into January, we'll be doing free sharings, services on Sundays. So I will repost all of that in case you're interested, or you could just let me know and I can send it directly to you. All right. For those of you watching on social media, YouTube, whatnot, may the blessings be. Let me know how you went with that, short, simple process to change or reset state. And till we meet again, may the blessings be. And those of you in Inner Circle, pop on over and I'm going to teach you another one. And also we'll have a chat about the processes we'll talk